All right, now we're looking at a certificate. That's my certificate for oxygen testing and gas testing. So I know what levels that we need to breathe and what levels are not good between oxygen, carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide, H2S, and explosive gases. Okay, now we're going to go on and I'm going to show you, try to educate you on what levels we need to breathe. Okay, now you're looking at gases that we breathe in. This is our environment, okay? 78% of what we breathe in is nitrogen. 21% roughly is going to be oxygen. And we can be a healthy environment for humans. We can breathe between 19.5 and 21% oxygen. So that can change, okay? But what will make that change? Well, we'll go through that in a minute. Now, there's other gases we inhale currently about 1%. Argon's about 1%. Then we got carbon dioxide, which we also exhale, but it's already in the environment. 0.04. Now, we need 0.04 in the environment. It kind of triggers our system, our human body, to breathe. All right, so we need to have that. Now, as you can see down below, we have hydrogen sulfide. Tobacco users, carbon monoxide is not on the chart as it is not a constant inhalant. Only when improper mask is worn or in a confined space. Levels of carbon dioxide, hydrogen sulfide, and carbon monoxide above 6 or 7% in many combinations can result in immediately death of a healthy human. Now, let's go up below. Let's go down to what we exhale. Composition of exhaled air. This is what we're going to exhale. This is what we're going to rebreathe some of this through those masks because we don't have the right masks on. There are certain masks you have to wear where the nose is separate from the mouth and allows you to inhale and exhale that air through ports in those masks. You don't have those masks that you're wearing. These cloth masks are not designed for that. So we're going to re-inhale a lot of this stuff. We're going to let you know what whatever testing we just did that was before this, you saw was what you're inhaling in those masks. And this is the results. Carbon monoxide, not a constant. Tobacco smokers. I tested tobacco smokers. Even after they're done smoking, 2, 3, 4 hours later, they still have 7 parts per million at least, or 10, of carbon monoxide that they're still exhaling. So it's in their whole body. Now, nitrogen is still at around 78 parts per million. Oxygen is 16.4 parts per million. That's what we exhale. So we've inhaled oxygen, now we're exhaling oxygen, but not at the same rate that we inhaled it, okay? Other gases, 1%, argon, 1%, carbon dioxide. We're exhaling carbon dioxide. Everybody's going to exhale that at around 4.4%. Now, hydrogen sulfide is not a constant. It's exhaled while we eat certain foods, and it can be in higher concentrations depending on what we've eaten. Okay, when it gets high enough, this also can be part of what causes death because it's going to take away from the oxygen levels. So what you saw earlier on the oxygen testing that we did on the mask, you saw what those levels were, so you have an idea. It says here, what makes your body produce hydrogen sulfide? Here again, your body makes small amounts of hydrogen sulfide. So when you put a mask on, you can't exhale that. You're constantly inhaling small amounts. And that will affect the lungs and the entire body. Hydrogen sulfide is produced by natural bacteria in your mouth. It's also produced when some types of proteins are broken down by bacteria in the intestines. Inhaled hydrogen sulfide. What does it do to your lungs? Well, it affects the nose and throat. And what will happen is pretty soon your nose won't be able to smell anything. You'll be able to smell it after a moment or two, maybe a minute. Low concentrations of 50 parts per million can rapidly produce irritation of the nose, throat, and lower respiratory tract. Pulmonary manifestations include cough, shortness of breath, and bronchial or lung hemorrhage. All right, and then down below it says many teenagers and adults think that there are no effects of smoking on their bodies until they reach middle age. Smoking causes lung cancer and other diseases. But it also affects the brain, respiratory and cardiovascular gastrointestinal, and immune and metabolic systems. With these immediate effects do not all produce local symptoms. You must begin to damage the body with the first cigarette, sometimes irreversible. So as you see, those things in small quantities over time affect your body. So when you have a mask on, you're starting to inhale this stuff constantly for 8 hours a day. Nobody in world history have masked so many people with the wrong mask and forced them to inhale these different mixtures into your body. And those with the worst lungs, the unhealthiest people will die first. Okay, now, how long can a brain go without oxygen? What happens? When most people think about brain injuries, they think some form of blunt force trauma. But impact trauma is not the only potential cause of severe brain injury. Other significant causes of brain injury is a lack of oxygen to the brain, known as anoxic brain injuries or hypoxic brain injuries. These afflictions result from oxygen deprivation that lasts more than a few minutes. Okay? Now, in honor of Brain Injury Awareness Month, we put together some information to help if someone you love has suffered an anoxic brain injury or cerebral hypoxia. Here are some of the things you should know about when the brain suffers lack of oxygen. What causes a lack of oxygen to the brain? Red blood cells are responsible for carrying oxygenated blood from the lungs through the body's cardiovascular system and venous systems to the brain and the rest of the body. When something blocks or causes stoppage or lack of blood flow, such as a blood clot, peripheral bleeding, wound, if it prevents, this is critical supply of oxygen from reaching the brain. The brain uses about 20% of the body's oxygen supply, which allows it to perform conscious and autonomic processes. Now, how long can a brain go without oxygen? A timeline. How long can a brain survive without oxygen? There's no one-size-fits-all answer to this question. For example, if the brain is receiving a limited supply of oxygen, it can survive longer than a brain receiving no oxygen. Okay? Now, brain cells are very sensitive to a lack of oxygen. Some brain cells start dying less than 5 minutes after the oxygen supply disappears. A result, brain hypoxia can rapidly cause severe brain damage or death. When brain goes to extended period with a lack of oxygen, neural cells begin to die through a process called apoptosis. Also, from the brain cell death occurs throughout a person's life. Large numbers of brain cells dying simultaneously can result in diminished brain function or brain death. However, the amount of time a brain can survive without oxygen before brain damage occurs will vary from person to person. All right? So the brain can withstand 3 to 6 minutes without oxygen before brain damage occurs in healthy individuals. It's very healthy individuals, and it very seldom doesn't come out good if you're not in extreme good health. All right? Now, we're going to go down to near-death experiences. There have been a variety of reported side effects or symptoms of lack of oxygen to the brain. Some of these include hallucinations, delusions, and near-death experiences. These experiences are due to oxygen deprivation and elevated levels of carbon dioxide, a gas that is toxic in high concentrations in the blood. So you're going to be re-inhaling carbon dioxide when you put that mask on. And you saw the results from the test prior to the person we just did, what those were. Those are all-day results. Brain oxygen deprivation. Not all brain injuries involve a blow to the head or lesion. Indeed, your brain can be injured even when nothing comes in contact with your head. You just have to have oxygen deprived. How long can a person last surviving oxygen deprivation? Loss of oxygen, 0 minutes. Brain damage may begin in 1 to 2 minutes. Death of brain cells and severe brain damage, 5 minutes. 10 minutes, death is likely. Overall health is really the basic timeline as to how long you will survive that.